What we have here is the brand new fragrance by Carolina Herrera, and this one is called La Bomba. Now, this is a perfume that just came out, and of course, there's been a lot of interest in this fragrance, and I personally have a bottle of it myself, although I happen to be at my friend's house. And this is a fragrance that is very juicy, very fruity. You have this pitaya fruit ingredient in the opening, which is otherwise known as dragon fruit. You also have pink peony, and you have a touch of, I think it's frangipani. So it has this tropical component to it as well. So this is a brand new perfume. I'm going to let you know what I think of this one, and I'm going to let you know how I think it stacks up against other popular designer perfumes, and even one specifically within the Carolina Herrera lineup. But before I start the video, I do want to mention that if you're a fan of fragrance-related content, and of course, if you love smelling your best, hit subscribe, hit the bell, and give this video a thumbs up for the algorithm. It would really, really mean a lot to me. So this perfume, let me tell you something. It opens up very fruity, very juicy. You do have a lot of that pitaya fruit or that dragon fruit ingredient in the opening, which I was always assuming, and I'm still left to assume, that it's a fantasy note. I don't know if you can properly distill the essence from a dragon fruit. Perhaps you can, but I think it's one of those things where it does kind of remind me at least a little bit of black currant. It's a very unique DNA, very unique olfactive profile. It's not going to remind you of any other fragrance. And one thing that I've always said about dragon fruit is that in the opening at least, or black currant rather, in the opening at least, it can be a little musky. And if you've ever tried blackcurrant essential oil, you know that it actually smells quite musky in the opening, to the point where it can even be a little off-putting. That's not what you get in this one. I think it's used in a very tasteful and moderate amount, that it creates this intrigue, this element of uniqueness to the fragrance. And here's one thing that I really, really admire about Carolina Herrera, especially with regard to this brand new release, is that they weren't afraid to take risks. A lot of perfumes on the market, they're reductive, they're repetitive. They just kind of follow the trends. What is everybody else doing? All right, let's just copy and follow suit. That's not the case here. This is actually a very unique standalone fragrance. And for a brand new release, I think Carolina Herrera did an incredible, incredible job. And I'm super proud of them for putting something out that is very different from the norm. You cannot compare it to anything else that's on the market. And I personally love that. One of the perfumers for this fragrance is Canton Biche. So Canton Biche has done other perfumes for Carolina Herrera, including Very Good Girl, which gets compared to Delina. He's also worked on Delina by Parfum de Marly, but he also composed this one alongside two other perfumers, one of which is Louise Turner. With this fragrance, you are going to get that floral component in the heart too. So you're going to get the peony, you're going to get the frangipani as well. However, I don't think it smells overly tropical. I think this is one of those perfumes where you get the juiciness, you get the fruitiness. It is very ripe and vibrant in the opening, but you also have like this smooth floral heart with a hint of vanilla in the dry down. Now, I must say, I am personally getting more patchouli than vanilla. And if you've smelled patchouli in perfumes before, whether it be Angel by Thierry Mugler or any number of other patchouli dominant fragrances, you're going to pick up on the patchouli in this one as well. So it kind of has like that familiar vanilla patchouli, ambery, olfactive classification dry down, but then the opening is really interesting and really different. So my thing is this: when you first apply it, you're going to get caught off guard. You're going to say, what is this, right? Like, I've never tried something like this before. In the countless other designer fragrances from Valentino, from Gucci, from Dior, from Fendi, from Prada, from Louis Vuitton, whatever brand you're trying, there's not anything on the market that I've tried that comes close to the way that this one opens up, which is like such a sigh of relief for me. And I really appreciate that. As it starts to dry down, that's when the layer of familiarity is going to start to peek through. And La Bomba by Carolina Herrera is a gorgeous fragrance. So here's the thing. We know what it smells like. It's a bit musky in the opening. You have this unique tart, fruity component to it. Almost has like a grapefruit vibe to it as well. When I think of tartness, I think of grapefruit. So think of grapefruit, blackcurrant. That's kind of the vibe that I'm getting in the opening. It dries down to like this very like clean floral vibe with a hint of tropicalness, if that's even a word. And then in the very dry down, you're going to get the vanilla patchouli combination, which is going to evoke a sense of familiarity, right? Now, as far as the type of woman that I would imagine wearing this perfume, so I imagine a woman with a very high sense of individuality. I imagine a woman who's quite idiosyncratic, a woman who doesn't necessarily go with the trends, a woman who is not doing what everybody else is doing just for the sake of fitting in. I do imagine somebody very fashionable, somebody who knows how to dress, somebody who is comfortable in her own skin, somebody who, loves being a bit on the outgoing side of things, who is not afraid to wear something, dare I say, provocative. And now we have a scent to match. Whenever I see butterflies, and this is a really cool, butterfly themed presentation. Whenever I see butterflies, I always think of serenity. I think of elegance. I think of poise. I think of even femininity. And I think that all four of those adjectives describe this perfume perfectly. Elegant, floral, feminine, poised, and just very well put together. But also having like a daring side, a playful daring, and dare I even say provocative side. This is such a beautiful fragrance, and kudos to Carolina Herrera for doing things differently. You have to respect these designer brands when they are willing to take these creative risks and actually put something out that is not catering to the masses in the sense that a lot of these mass marketed safe designer fragrances are. But this one actually does things so differently that when you try it in stores, you're going to be pleasantly surprised. Now, I will say this. I think it's also going to be one of those DNAs where it's going to be love it or hate it. So I don't think that, 9 out of 10 people who tried this are going to be like, wow, that's amazing. No. I think maybe 6 out of 10 people who try it are going to be like, this is good. But here's the thing. I think the people who try it and love it, they're going to love it. And I think the people who don't like it are going to be very outspoken about it. And I think that's the case with a lot of perfumes nowadays. If we're being honest, if you try something like Angel by Thierry Mugler, I mean, that historically, ever since the early 90s when it was released, has been a very polarizing fragrance, right? You're either in camp love or camp hate. And hate is a strong word, but believe me, there's a lot of people out there that hate Angel. So I think it's going to be one of those polarizing fragrances. But in order to achieve that level of polarity, you also have to achieve a level of uniqueness and creativity, and you have to experiment, and this is an experiment gone very, very well. It's classy, it's feminine, it's a bit provocative. There's this tone of sensuality about it, but I think had there been more vanilla, it would have been more sensual, right? And I feel like the vanilla in this one is subdued. Now, if they plan to launch a flanker in the near future, you can pretty much imagine that there's a few directions that they can go in. I can't imagine this being any more tart. I can imagine it being sweeter. I can imagine it being more floral. I can imagine it being spicier. Maybe they might add a trending note in there like raspberry, which I feel like all the brands are doing nowadays. So we'll see what they do. But Carolina Herrera, I truly feel like you did an incredible job with La Bomba, which is the brand new fragrance, and kudos to you. I love having this one in my collection. First up, in terms of the uniqueness and the overall smell is going to be a bit polarizing. But like I said, the uniqueness, this is an incredibly unique fragrance. Can't quite compare it to anything else on the market. I think in terms of the longevity, you can expect 7 to 8 hours on skin. This is eau de parfum, if I'm not mistaken. Let me just double check for you at home. It's eau de parfum. Projection on this one, at an arm's length for the first hour and a half of application. It became an elbow's length scent right around hour 6, a skin scent right around hour 8. In terms of the versatility, I think this one would work well in all seasons of the year. I want to wait and see what it's going to be like in the winter. I think because of the dragon fruit and the brightness, that tart quality in the opening, the florals, is it going to be more of a spring and summer scent potentially? But it's not as light as something like a Prada Paradox, which is a lot of jasmine and orange blossom. And that's a very fun, bright, uplifting, safe summer and spring fragrance, this one you can wear into the autumn, right? And I think you can dress this one up, you can dress it down. I think it's going to cater to any age range, and it certainly is feminine leaning according to traditional standards. And as far as the presentation is concerned, beautiful presentation on this one. As you can see, the bottle, everything about it, the details, it's quite gorgeous. My final verdict on this fragrance is I'm a big fan of it. Is this something that I would wear personally? No. Would I love to wear this on a woman? Smell this on a woman? Absolutely. And I'll apply it to her as well, I suppose. But this is a beautiful fragrance, right? It's a very confident, very outgoing, playful, unique and quirky scent with a tone of sensuality and a tone of provocation as well. La Bomba by Carolina Herrera, truly an unexpected gem. And I'm very happy to have this one in my collection. So thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for joining me. That was my review of the brand new La Bomba by Carolina Herrera. I'm very glad to have had the opportunity to cover it on the channel here. If you took anything of value from today's episode, I would really appreciate it if you would consider supporting the channel by clicking subscribe, hitting the bell, and giving this video a thumbs up. It would mean everything to me. So thank you again for tuning in. I love you all, and we'll see you tomorrow with a new episode.